A crowd of devotees paying their respects at a revered shrine, moments before a suicide bomber blows himself up. Many Pakistanis had hoped these were scenes of the past.
What I saw here was like a doomsday. The courtyard within the boundary of the shrine was filled with thousands of people who were crying and wailing. No one was there to pick up anyone.
But it's just the latest in a string of attacks that have left more than 100 people dead in 10 days, after nearly a year and a half of relative calm. Many say that decrease in attacks was the result of an army-led operation launched against militant groups in 2014. It initially led to backlash from the Pakistani Taliban, who then orchestrated a series of attacks on security officials and civilians across the country. But that came to an end following national outrage over an attack on a school that killed 150 children, leading military chief General Raheel Sharif to intensify efforts against militants. He retired in November. Analysts say the militants could now be testing grounds to see if the new army chief will be as committed. Pakistan is home to a number of militant groups. The primary group is Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, known as the TTP or Pakistani Taliban. It includes three main chapters: Swat Taliban, Mahsood Taliban and Moman Taliban, named after the tribes or regions where they originated. The militants say they started attacking the state after US drone strikes began in the country. The attacks were initially confined to tribal areas, but after the military-led Red Mosque operation in 2007, the group declared open war on Pakistan. The TTP has also been involved in attacks on NATO forces in Afghanistan, most famously the Camp Chapman attack in 2009 that killed 7 CIA personnel, the deadliest attack on the agency in 25 years. Another major militant group is the sectarian faction Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, commonly called the LEJ, which started out by targeting Shias in the 1990s. Its target list has now expanded to include foreigners, government facilities, and security officials. Critics of the government say their strategy against these militant groups isn't working.
Some of us in Pakistan have been crying out loud that peace will not return unless, this distinction between the good and bad Taliban goes away. And because it continues, you see recurrence. And in fact, internally, there are so many groups which are connected, which are interconnected. So you can't stop, and there is so much of radicalism, which is the base, which is the underlying reason for violence to recur.
The government says the attacks are meant to hurt the nation economically, especially an upcoming multi-billion-dollar infrastructure project financed by China. But critics say that these economic gains have done little to help ordinary people, like those at the shrine, who continue to pay the heaviest price. Shoaib Hassan, The Newsmakers.
Well, joining me now from the northern Pakistani city of Rawalpindi is Major General Asif Ghafoor. He's the Director General of the Media Wing of the Pakistan Armed Forces. Thank you very much for joining us. Sir, there's been a spate of attacks, suicide bombings and so on. Charsadda, Sehwan, Mohmand, Lahore. It's been a terrible time for the Pakistani people. People are being attacked even in mosques. Tell me why this operation, Radd-ul-Fasaad, as you call it, will be the one to stop the scourge of terrorism. Why this operation right now?
Thank you very much, Imran. Before I answer your question, I would like to give you a context to this operation. Immediately after 9/11, the new war started, in which Pakistan also joined to support that international coalition force inside Afghanistan. If I recollect, at that time, Pakistan had only about 34,000 of troops along Pak-Afghan border, which is over 2,600 kilometers. And those 34,000 troops were also essentially the civil armed forces placed there for anti-smuggling. Now, over the last 15 years, Pakistan undertook a military campaign on our side of the border in which major operations were undertaken. starting 2007-8, that military campaign, till 2014, we cleared most of the areas, less North Waziristan, which was part of the campaign at the end. And recently we completed Operation Zarb-e-Azab, and we are very confident that we have cleared all terrorist sanctuaries on our side of the border. As I speak, we have near 200,000 troops still present in Fatah KP and Long Pak Afghan border. When you see on other side of the border, that is Afghanistan, at peak time there were 137 troops of the ISAF, and now they are left with only resolute support mission of about 8,500 troops. There is a capability and capacity of the Afghan National Security Forces. So we believe that the terrorists which we pushed out from Fatah due to the ungoverned spaces on Afghan side of the border, all kinds of terrorist organizations, they are now hiding inside Afghanistan along Pak Afghan border.
Okay, so if you'll allow me to interrupt you, sorry to interrupt you, sir. If you'll allow me, sure. So you're saying ungoverned territory, you're blaming, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're insinuating that the Afghans are not doing enough to ensure that Pakistan doesn't bear the brunt of terrorism. The Afghans are saying the opposite. If you heard what Sadiq Siddiqui said, a senior Afghan Interior Ministry official, he said that the terror attack last month, which killed 5 Emirati diplomats in Kandahar, was planned in Pakistan. He said it was planned in Chaman Quetta at Maulawi Ahmed Madrasa. So the Afghans are saying, okay, fine, you're tough on Pakistani Taliban, but you're turning a blind eye to Afghan Taliban on your soil, and you're saying that the Afghans are not doing enough. Can you understand from the outside, it seems as if none of you wants to take responsibility for the problem of terrorism?
Yes, Imran, let me complete. This blame game can go on, we can talk on this also. But what I was saying that Pakistan over the last decade or so has cleared all areas on Pakistan side of the border. If you have heard the Afghan ambassador yesterday in one of the TV channels, he confessed that there are ungoverned spaces on Afghan side of the border. We don't say that Afghans do not want to do it, but then there is a question of their capability and capacity also. Their forces are not present on Afghan side of the border. Now, if you talk about the terrorist attacks which happened in Pakistan lately, last week, the responsibility of those attacks have been claimed by the terrorist organization groups and leadership which is inside Afghanistan. So there is a requirement that the border areas of Afghanistan are also cleared the way Pakistan has cleared the areas on our side of the border.
So if you've cleared all the areas on your side of the border, why the need for a massive operation in Punjab? Why the massive operation in Punjab if it's cleared?
Okay, let me tell you that. Pakistan Army undertook a military campaign which was planned to clear the areas physically. Those areas have been cleared, and essentially those were bordering Pakistan, Afghanistan. Now Operation Radd-ul-Fasaad is an operation to undertake this scanning across the country. Every operation which Pakistan Army undertook earlier was area specific. We went into Swat, we went into Bajod, Mohmand, Kurram, Orakzai, North Waziristan, South Waziristan. Having done that, now this operation aims at scanning, combing, and undertaking intelligence-based operation to identify those facilitators or sympathizers which could be there. Now the planning is done by the leadership inside Afghanistan, but for execution, they are in a position to hire few people in the mainland and undertake the execution of those attacks. So Radd-ul-Fasaad is a nationwide operation to target those facilitators, sympathizers, or abettors who are playing in the hands of those terrorist leadership which are in Afghanistan.
Good point. As we talk about facilitators and sympathizers, and we understand that somebody becoming a terrorist or radicalization happens long before they pick up a gun, are you aware of what Sarfaraz Bukti, Baluchistan's Minister for Home and Tribal Affairs, very recently said? He told Voice of America, and I'm going to quote him to you. He said, there are many seminaries, madrasas, where Afghan Taliban are studying, and many are owned by the Afghan Taliban group. He's talking about Baluchistan, which is within your borders. He said there are thousands of students. Help me understand that, because you're saying this is happening from Afghanistan. This is within your borders. There are thousands of students in schools run by the Afghan Taliban. How is that happening in Pakistan in this day and age?
You cannot take the things out of context. Yes, there are madaris in Pakistan, and as part of Operation Radd-ul-Fasaad, we are scanning those madaris. Not all madaris are harboring terrorists or preparing terrorists. We are scanning those madaris. We have identified few where not the day scholars, but few of them have the potential to be radicalized. When we go ahead with the Operation Radd-ul-Fasaad, we will scan those madaris, and the government has already planned to bring those madaris into the mainstream national education system.
So if you allow me to sort of go back to my first question, then why Radd-ul-Fasaad? Why would Radd-ul-Fasaad be different this time around? Because I'm old enough to remember 2005, when President Pervez Musharraf kicked out the foreign students from many of those madaris or madrasas. 2007, when many of them were shut down. 2008, when they were shut down. So this is a decade on, and you're saying Radd-ul-Fasaad is going to go through these schools to find out, to root out the bad apples. Why would Radd-ul-Fasaad be any different this time around? You've done it before and it's failed.
Yeah. As I said, all operations which Pakistan Army and the government of Pakistan undertook before Radd-ul-Fasaad, those were area specific. For example, Rai-Ras was launched in Swat to clear Swat. There are two dimensions of the operation. One is the human space, the social space, and other is the physical space. Most of the operations conducted so far before Radd-ul-Fasaad were aimed at getting the physical hold. By saying this, I don't mean that the human element was not seen earlier also. Those were part and parcel of the earlier operation as well. But Radd-ul-Fasaad aims at consolidating the gains achieved thus far by the operations which have been conducted earlier. And now this will be a country-wide scanning of the entire area, so that to identify, target and eliminate those possible facilitators, sympathizers and abettors.
Major General Asif Ghafoor, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.